Necessity collide.
Family, what's good in the hood? This is Dr. Garfield Bright, and thank you for tuning in to Curiosity Collage. Yes, y'all. This is my maiden voyage, episode one. And today, what we're going to be looking at, what I'm curious about today that I'm going to bring to you is the words on, and an, which are really corruptions of the same thing when we break it down. But I'm looking specifically about the ancient Kemetic, which Kemetic is Egyptian for those who don't know. The ancient Kemetic Sun-Centric influence on everyday language patterns. A lot of people don't realize that historically speaking, the body of land known as Kemet has had a major influence, not only in the United States, but just worldwide in the leadership, the elites, and how they see the world, and is owed majorly to ancient Kemetics understanding of the sun energy. And a lot of that stuff in terms of how they see the world seeps into our language patterns, not only in the United States, like I said, but in Europe and worldwide. And I'm going to show you some of the words that we use every day that are steeped in sun-centricness, that we don't even realize that are sun-centered words. And I could elaborate on this and really go into depth with it, but it'll take me an hour. But I'm going to try to get it to you in about 15 minutes. So I got to give you a little historical overview about it. So first, Heliopolis is the name given to the city in Egypt, which is in Cairo, Lower Egypt, which is actually the higher elevation of Egypt. Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt doesn't speak to north and south. Lower Egypt is the area that is lower in elevation, which is the northern part. I know it's counterintuitive. Upper Egypt is the southern region of Kemet that is elevated higher. Africa is like an upside down bowl. So when we say upper and lower, we're talking about the higher elevated region versus the lower elevation. And just for a piece of understanding, historically speaking, you got the Nile River that's flowing from southern Egypt to northern Egypt because it's higher up in the south and it flows down to the Nile Delta. Just remember that. But listen, in ancient antiquity, in Kemet, you had a city called Heliopolis, which was named so after the Greeks who came and conquered Alexander. So you see the polis, which is a city-state, and you see Helios, which is sun. Well, the original name of that city is On. It's On. On was literally city of the sun. City of the sun. Yes, it was. And a lot of the sacredness of the city of the sun has spilled over into all the empirical spots, the cities of commerce to this day. And by virtue of that, there's a retention in our language patterns. And I'm going to show you a couple of words to show you how it's looked on the way down. But I got to contextualize it a little bit because the city of the sun was very important to the Masonic entities on this plane and groups. They borrowed a lot of their understandings from Kemet. A lot of the Masonic energy comes from Kemet, and you'll see the cities who borrow from Kemet are the cities who kind of set precedent of our worldview. Even to this day, they own media, they own the concept of civilization building. And but the city of the sun, On, was the first Egyptian capital during the pre-dynastic period. They believe that On was the first place where creation itself took place. It's the spot where life began to a lot of people. It's the spot where the sun literally rose for the first time. It's the home of Amun-Ra, right? Ra, which means ray, which is sun in and of itself. And it was at its peak around 1200 BC. It declined about 2nd century BC. But when it declined, when people started leaving the city, it didn't just die out. What people did, because it was a sacred city, it was much like Vatican City, if you can compare it to anything. It had all these Tekkens. Some people might know them as obelisks, but it had all these Tekkens around it. And when the city started declining in 2nd century BC, they stole these Tekkens from Heliopolis, or the city of On, and put them in their city so they could literally take a piece of Sun City, or the city of the sun, because they revered it as well, because they understood with the power behind it. And they put it in their cities. So, these Tekken, which people call obelisk, represented Ra himself, the sun himself. The shaft was Ra, the shaft of the Tekken. And then you started to see that the pyramidion part was the sun rays that emanated from Ra. And so that concept you'll start seeing in so many cities that basically see themselves as the city of the sun and all these other places, which is a lofty position, you'll see. And so who were some of these cities who stole the Tekken after Heliopolis fell? And I'm going to tell you who they are, but I'm going to also keep reminding you that these cities were heavily influenced by Heliopolis or On, and it bled into the language patterns of how they even constructed their words. So let's look at who were some of the cities who took Tekken from On, the city of the sun. We started out with Alexandria. Alexandria, which was also still in Egypt, but it wasn't in the city of On. But they wanted very much to be like On. So when the city of On died out in terms of the population, Alexandria sprung up. The city of On was very much a sacred city, a religious type of city, but based around some, not some worship, but some respect. Like the city of the sun really, really revered the sun. And people used to come from all over just to worship and fellowship and be in a sacred space that dealt with the sun as the center of all power. Alexandria wanted that heat. They wanted that to be a part of their place. So they stole the Tekken. Another city that stole Tekkens was, Rome. We all know about Rome. Rome, if you go outside the Vatican City right now, you'll see one of those tall Tekkens with the cross on the top. The Pope made sure he got his Tekken because he would love for the Vatican City to be known as the top city that was in the shape, in the tradition of On itself. The city that everybody came to revere the sun, that had the knowledge, that had the sacredness also surrounding it. Who else? Who else took a piece of the pie? You got Paris. And if anybody knows anything about Paris, it's steeped in Masonic just iconography. Paris is actually Paresis, the city of Isis, the house of Isis. Pyramid, pier, fire, and Isis, fire within, and Isis put together, you make Paris. Isis, the Isis cult, stuff like that. Who else? These are all commerce cities, by the way. Who else? You got London. London's another major commerce city who sets trends in terms of how they see the world. They own media. They put out their thoughts. Their thoughts are pervasive in the world. Stocks, bonds, money, the lingua franca. English is the worldwide language. Think about it. So London having an obelisk or a Tekken in their midst is paying homage to the city that they feel is the highest revered. And that's the city that built their prominence on the understanding and the dominance of Sun-Centricness. So we're going to see these bleed in, but we got some more to go. Who else? Yes, you guessed it. New York. New York has a few Tekkens. If you go to Central Park, you'll see some Tekkens in New York. Once again, instantiating the fact that Heliopolis influence, that On influence, came to all of these cities, including New York. And it's under the undercurrent in these cities of commerce where civilization builds around, comes out of this Sun-Centric thought processes that once again will be in the language patterns. And I'm going to show you. But guess who else? You can't have all these cities of commerce without having Chocolate City, DC. Now, DC didn't get one of the original Tekkens, but it replicated their own. And we know that's the Washington Monument. And so those are the cities that really, really, really saw themselves and wanted to fashion themselves after Heliopolis from thousands of years ago to bring it into their city because they saw themselves as somewhat a city of On themselves. And they wanted to make sure that people understood that they were steeped in that esoteric tradition, that mysterious higher knowledge base that governs, cities of governance, cities of commerce. These are the cities, and they have the obelisk to prove it, the Tekken to prove it. But let's go a little deeper into this thing, and let's get right into the words. Right into the words that have been kind of like unfettered, still preserving, the major meanings passed on since Heliopolis and On. Let's start with the most obvious word. The most obvious word is the word On. Look at that word. We use it every day. It means being or existence. Yes, it does. And what does that connote? Movement. When the sun hits stuff, it makes it come in. Photosynthesis happens. It makes it come into being. Sun gives birth. We're made out of sun and water. Movement is motion happening when the sun gets to it. Vibration, right? These are all terms. And these cities want to be the cities that create movement, vibration. They want to be the cities in motion. They liken themselves after the sun. Think about the mindset, the worldview is really deep. But it's a charged state. That's what on literally means. It's being in existence. It's activated. So the most obvious situation or instance of the word on is when you go into a house, to your crib late at night, right? And everything is still, and you want to charge it and get it moving, get the vibe going. You want to create a vibration, radiation. You turn the light on. You turn a light on. You literally turn your light to a state of sunness. It goes from darkness to lightness. And when it's in a light state, it's in a state of on, according to your light switch. And the on is a reference right back to the sun. That's one of the major cases of sun-centricness right there. The way we use the word on itself. It went from being a city that we never heard of, a lot of us, to being a state of light happening. And we turn our lights on because we are turning it to a state of the sun, which is what it means, the city of the sun. That's what it is. So let's look at another word. We have the light being in the on position, meaning being sun-centric, the sun being on. Let's go to ion. Ion is a deep word. What does ion mean? It's a charged particle. It's a charged particle. It's moving. Same thing. It's in motion. It's just like on. I is beginning of it means like towards being a charged particle. The state of being a charged particle. Ion. The Gaelic version has distilled into the word John. When we see ion, we see the word John. We also see the word, the Hebrew word Yakanin. What does Yakanin mean? God is gracious. Grace itself comes from the concept of without sun, we would perish. So Yakanin being tied all the way back to ion, which is sun-centric or chargedness, makes so much sense because grace is extended to us in the form of we have sun. Then you think about the concept in religion, the Son of God, S-O-N. It's the same concept that grace is that we're saved because we have the sun. And all that goes back to all these different names like John, which is Yan, Eon, and Yakanin. All of those things are definitely sun related because they give us grace. They give us the ability to live. And it's another tripped out thing with John being a part of this is that the symbol of John is the eagle. In Masonic lore and iconography, the eagle is very prominent in America's Constitution. It's on top of the flag. It's on a dollar bill, symboled after the phoenix. The phoenix rises in his own ashes. You have a fire symbolism right there, which relates back to the sun. But let's look at John in terms of what the eagle actually means in the religious context. John is the person in the Bible because of his understanding of the words of God. He's able to, the symbol of him as an eagle connotes the fact that he's able to be close to the sun, first of all, fly high, but he can look the sun straight in the eye. He can look the Son of God straight in the eye. He's able to look straight into the sun. That's one of the mystique orientations or understandings about John himself. And so we attribute that to John, but it all goes back once again to ion, which goes back to on, which is being in existence, vibration, movement. Let's look at ion again outside of just being a charged particle and now. But let's look at some more things about ion. It's the state of doing something. State of doing something. Right? Once again, going back to this motion, this movement, the state of motion. It's active. You understand what I'm saying? It's the result of being active. Ion. So let's look at, it's movement. It's a high vibration. It's right. It's going down. So let's look at another word that has been influenced. I can put these two words together, and what do I get? Onion. Now my wifey hates the fact that I devour onions. I love them, especially the purple ones. I swear, they're good for your body. But what is an onion if you look at it together? You got on right here, which is sun, which is already a sun reference. And you got a charged particle. You got particle of the sun, literally. So when you eat this fruit, it has literally been named because of its properties of high vibration and hotness when you bite into it. The authors of this particular thing have looked at it as being an ion of the sun itself. It's got that charged particle aspect to it when we deal with onion. It's made of on and ion. It's literally a charged particle from the sun. That's another sun referent that comes straight from Heliopolis or On, which is the original name for it, city of the sun. Let's go to another word. Let's see what else we can do with this. There's a lot of words that have seeped into our mainframe, to the lexicon, that we don't pay attention to because we literally are, using sun references and don't know it. We can look at ontology. We want to wax philosophical for a second. Logi is the study of, which is logia, right? The study of. On goes back to being or existence. So the study of existence itself is ontology, which is strictly, they could use any other prefix to signify the study of being or the study of existence, but they use ontology because why? The original thing that sparks beingness in the first place is the sun. So they go back to the original form to kind of capture that understanding, that worldview that the sun is the lone arbiter of life itself. And so ontology is the study of being, the study of life, the study of being alive or existence, the ontological underpinning, some scholars might say. But ontology is another one of those words that's sun-based. Let's take another look at another word real quick. Let's shift gears a little bit and go to another use of the on in different form. Let's look at the word front. Man, you fronting. Out front. The word front itself. If you look at the prefix, fr in and of itself means from. Anytime you see that at the beginning of a word, it means from it. In the ONT, you see the sun just hiding between that R and the T so innocently, but it's a powerful word right there. On is the sun, from the sun. The face of the sun. And, like the sun side. What is the side of a person that brings out the energy? It's the side with the eyes, the side with the, that you're facing. The front of a person shoots out the rays of the energy just like the sun does. So they snatch the sun reference to describe the phenomenon of, the front of something is literally the sun side, the side that pushes out the energy, the front, that's the side that they're interested in. So front literally is got sun housed all up in it and is speaking to pictorially a sun reference describing how the sun shoots rays from its face outward. The front is the side of you that shoots energy outward. And that's what this comes from. So you got another example of it. Let's go again to another word real quick that has an FR beginning. But now we switching to the AN form, which is almost the same thing. Let's look at the word France. You got FR, which is from, once again, the FR, boom. But you got the ans. So let's look at what France means. It comes from, in its West Germanic form, Franco, right? This means literally javelin or spear, right? And so if it's from the sun, in this actual breakdown from the sun, what else comes from the sun but a ray? A ray shoots out, and it shoots out fast. In the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second, shoots out fast, and it looks like the rays look like a spear or javelin that the sun might be hurling. So the word for javelin would be Franco, right? Because it's a sun reference once again. And if you know anything about the French, they're very Masonic, very steeped in esoteric understanding. So it's not hard pressed to see how they would capture the sun inside the name, especially when you go to France. You go to the Louvre and you see the pyramid, the crystal pyramid right outside. They borrowed heavily from Kemet, and you see that. But let's take it to the word "and" and just really analyze "and," like "an," "on." The vowel sound, the vowel "ah" is what both of those starts with, and it's a matter of pronunciation that distinguishes the difference. They're basically almost the same phonetics. On and on is almost the same thing, but it's an indefinite article that comes before words that begin with vowels. We know "and" to be like "an onion," and it means one, literally, or alone. And the original one alone, the one that doesn't need anything but provides energy to everything, is the sun. It comes from that. And it's also used as a prefix that means lone or single. And that single concept, that lone concept, going way back in time, is the single power source other than God himself, being the sun that permeates the atmosphere in the sky, that produces power, that's self-contained in and of itself, that lone, if you will, being that produces energy. And we'll take this AN form to another level and take it to another word that uses it. And this is one of the deeper words we have in our language, is this word human. I'm gonna take a little time to break this down because you see the on portion of it, but I really want to take a little time to go to the mean, the M. We know hue means like tint, the complexion. So we talking about an entity with complexion. But if you look at the mean has a lot of different meanings behind it, where this M comes from the letter meme, if you want to go to some of the ancient languages, like Arabic. It's a place where something happens, or a location where something happens, right? So if you look at that sun, where sun happens, down is distilled to the earth. It also means king. If you look in the Hebrew book, the Sefer Yetzirah, it attributes mean to being a few different things, but one of the things it attributes it to being is king of a structure, a structured place, king of earth. No, the king of an earthly place, king of an earthly place, king over earth form. Put it like king over formed earth. We all supposedly come from clay. We come from clay. We formed from clay. So if you look at this word human, this M being a designate to be a structure or a place where something is housed, like our body is a temple. Our body is a temple for what? We're made out of water and sun, electrochemical. We house the external sun within us, and then we become sunlight. So it's a place or a location for the sun with the tent, human. Another definition of meme itself, to show you how it works, is meme can also mean imitator. Imitator. Look at that. Imitator. If you look at meme in this position right here, being, we already got the tinted one to give you a designator, descriptor, one who is tinted or color or whatever you want to call melanated. But then you get imitator as this M letter designate right here, imitator of the sun. Because once you house the sun, once you are formed earth, housing or structure where sun can happen, housing sun, you imitate the qualities of sun. You're bright in and of yourself. We're all God, son of the Most High God, right? So we're imitating the sun energy as humans, as beings. We add being behind that, human being. That's why you have to put being behind it to even further designate this concept that's going on here. It's real deep. And just to give you a better understanding of how this meme works, let's look at an Arabic word so I can show you how this is making sense. If you look at, darasa in Arabic means to study, right? And I said that meme is like a location. It connotes location where something happens, right? Where sun can happen, a location, a physical location where sun can. Well, if you look at this, darasa is the location to study. Meme before darasa should connote where studying can happen. Where does study happen? At a madrasa, which is a school. To show you how this M works when they put it into a word. It comes from an ancient understanding of meme and stuff like that. So meme is a location. So if sun is happening, the dynamism of sun, energy, movement, where does movement happen on this physical plane? It happens within the body, the temple. It happens within a structured place. It's the place. So this human is a place of tent where sunness can happen on this plane, which is what we call it. And that being is us. We're the temple for the sun, literally. And so that's another sun-centric understanding of traced back to Heliopolis or on, with the mean attribute to it. But human is a very, very deep word. But let's go to another word that always tripped me out. The word itself, one. It's funny how we pronounce this like it's a W at the beginning, like one, W-O-N-E. Like if you put L at the beginning of that, it would be long. Why? Because the rules state that you have a long vowel, a vowel at the end of a word, you're supposed to treat this vowel as a long version of itself. So this should be own. You understand what I'm saying? But we pronounce it as one, so I give it a pass. But Heliopolis, I didn't say what the other word in Arabic was for Heliopolis, but it literally has another Arabic word besides Heliopolis. It's Ain Shams. So now that we get down to one, we got a Proto-Germanic version of it, which is its roots is A-I-N-A-Z, Ionaz, which is a corruption. If you can look at it, it's Ein, which is one, Shams, Ein Shams, Ionaz is a similar kind of distinction to that. That Ionaz is right there. That one is always right there where it comes from. And if you look at one even further, put into Latin, the Latin version of it, you'll see that it comes from the root oino. Well, that's where we get uno from. Uno comes from oino. Back to one again, and on. That's a sun reference once again, by being the primary one is the sun. But from this whole concept is where we get the word unique. Unique. Unique is like a version of the one, like one like a likeness is the eek part, is like likeness of the one. So something that's unique is like a one of one. And that's where that word comes from. And what is the one of one? Nothing else is like the sun. The sun even has, if you put an S right here, you get S from the sun. Sun is built out of this whole concept in the first place. You can't even escape it. So those are sun-centric words right there on top of it. If you want to break it down, what the one actually means. Lastly, but not leastly, is another thing that we very rarely look at that totally is sun-centric. But it's just another word. And there's so many more, but I don't want to take too much time. But if you look at the word done, you literally got D and one smushed together. Well, we know, if we're dealing with Latin, that D is kind of like analogous to DE, like day, which is from or of the one, of the sun. So if we talk about meat and we say it's well done, we literally are dealing with sun, because that means that it's thoroughly cooked. We're talking about temperature. Has touched that meat and has put it on it. Now that thing is ready. Is from the sun. It's been touched by temperature. It's been touched by a hot source, right? Done itself is so a sun reference. Such a sun reference right in our face. So sun is all up and through our language. And the next time you tell somebody to turn the lights on, just remember you telling somebody to turn the lights to a state of sunness in your crib. You want to replicate the sunlight happening in your crib. So it's turning on. You're going back to Heliopolis. The Kemetic influence is undeniable. So I just want to hit you with that. This is the first episode of Curiosity Collage. There'll be more, hopefully coming next week, once a week. But yeah, don't sleep. The sun is in everything, and it comes from Kemet, which is Africa. So yeah, the concept of the sun is heavy all throughout Europe, Africa, United States, and elsewhere. So, don't sleep when you're speaking these words, these letter combinations, O-N, A-N, U-R, O-R. A lot of words are prolific in terms of how the influence of the sun has penetrated it. We speak a lot of sun language because we're sun beings. I'm just saying. All right, y'all, I'm signing off. It's Dr. Bright. I will see you next time under the sun.